You know, guys, I'm getting pretty sick and tired of these harem anime you got me watching. I really am. Hey guys, the Black Critic Guy, and I'm here today to review the anime Brynhildr in the Darkness. Let's get started. Now, Brynhildr in the Darkness follows a high school boy named Ryota Murakami, who meets a transfer student who looks just like his childhood friend who died, named Kuroneko. And the name of the transfer student, by the way, is Kuroha Neko. I can definitely see that the anime is really trying to keep the identity of this character a mystery. Anyways, he later finds out that Kuroha has powers and refers to herself as a witch. And from here, the two meet other witches, friend and foe alike, face many threats, and try their damnedest to convince the audience that they're actually building a strong and convincing relationship. Spoiler alert, they don't. Now, I believe this anime was sent to me by one of my subscribers by name of Speed the Third. And this anime is actually based on a manga that was made by the same guy who made Elfen Lied. And when I discovered that, guys, I got super excited. The moment I received it, I was like, I can't wait to watch Brynhildr in the Darkness. Because, as many of you may or may not know, Elfen Lied is actually one of my favorite anime of all time that has one of the most tragic yet poetically beautiful endings I've ever seen. Although the ending does leave on a very sour note, as there's a lot of things left unresolved and it does end on an open note. But I felt like the characters got full resolution by the very end, and what happens near the end of the anime is just so beautiful. The moment between Kota and Lucy, I mean, I could watch that over and over and over again. And the anime is just overall an excellent anime. I definitely recommend checking it out. And so, when getting Brynhildr in the Darkness, I was hoping that it would be at the same level of quality as its predecessor, Elfen Lied. And after watching all 13 episodes, including the OVA, what do I think of Brynhildr in the Darkness? It fucking sucks. I have not been this disappointed with an anime in a very long time. So congratulations, Brynhildr in the Darkness. You finally broke the streak. But it's not all bad with this anime, as there were a handful of good qualities to it. Just a handful, though. First, the animation here is serviceable. It's nothing completely bad, but it's nothing that's like impressive or amazing. It's just really serviceable for what the anime needed to be. And it was interesting to learn that the same animation studio behind Brynhildr in the Darkness, ARMS, is also the same animation studio that did the animation for Elfen Lied. I thought that was pretty cool. The English dub, done by Sentai Filmworks, wasn't half bad either, which is quite surprising to hear, as Sentai Filmworks isn't really known for their solid dubs. But here, they did a good job. The ADR work was fine and the performances were decent. Although I'll be honest, some performances were way better than others. I personally felt like all the female performances were really good, and all the male performances kind of came off as stoic and bland. They kind of lacked a bit of emotion to them. The concept of the story, while nothing entirely unique, was still very interesting and had loads of potential to it. It could have been quite an enthralling story to follow. The story is very similar to Elfen Lied's story, which honestly should not come as a surprise to anyone, as it's from the same creator, in that it revolves around these teen girls with supernatural abilities, each with a varying degree of strength and skills, and they all escape from this organization that was experimenting on them, and they all kind of latch on to this one stoic male lead. And out of all the characters in the anime, only one character truly stood out to me and that I was actually invested in and really enjoyed watching. And that character was Nanami. Her little arc in the middle of the anime, where she has to hunt down the main characters but instead opts to get rid of her handler and go experience life for herself, and does all these weird and bizarre things in order to earn some money so that she could buy some sweets to eat, was actually pretty damn entertaining. I found them very interesting, and I found myself smiling and laughing at the shenanigans that she would get into. Not only that, but she also has a pretty touching story in which she's trying to make some friends. Like, the one thing she wants in life was to have friends, was to make friends. And I'm not gonna lie, it actually touched me and made me kind of choke up a bit. But I will say that the way they end her story, completely lackluster. And what they did came out of left field and made no damn sense. I'm like, really? That's how we're gonna resolve her story? Man, come on, don't ruin the only good character and the only good subplot that you have in this anime. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to address the anime's many shortcomings. And the biggest problem that completely cripples any sort of enjoyment for Brynhildr in the Darkness is that it's such a bore fest. You care nothing about the story or the characters. You feel no investment to anything. The story in a nutshell is basically Elfen Lied without the intrigue, deep characters, and most importantly, heart. And it's so tonally confused. It doesn't know what kind of anime it wants to be. Does it want to be a serious, dark drama following these teen girls with supernatural abilities who have been tormented and experimented on for many years, who have finally escaped their imprisonment from this evil organization and fight to survive? Or is it a whimsical, silly, lighthearted harem rom-com where these 5 girls are just fighting over each other to get with this one bland dude? You cannot have your cake and eat it too in this situation, as those two tones conflict with each other constantly. They don't mesh well together. Not to mention that the anime would constantly flip-flop tones at the drop of a dime. Like they'd be talking about something really serious, some deep, dark, heavy shit that could lead to some really strong character development and a really good bonding moment between the characters. But then all of a sudden, the main character will say something wacky that would make the main girl character blush, and then it would lead to this really played out and mundane rom-com scenario that just feels out of place after we just talked about something really heavy and dark and maybe even traumatizing. And yes, I have stated previously that some levity is needed in dark, serious anime, especially when the anime bombards you with a lot of heavy shit. But it shouldn't overstay its welcome. It should not overpower the dark and serious subject matter that the anime is trying to tackle. In Brynhildr in the Darkness, the comedy is almost at the same level as the heavy drama. In fact, sometimes even surpassing it. It felt more like a comedy than a serious drama. And you got to plan it out properly. You can't just do a comedy bit seconds after a character unloaded a lot of dark history about them. But even if they were trying to be both those things, they still would have failed epically. The story fails as a serious drama because the drama that's happening on screen has absolutely no weight to it and comes off as incredibly forced, lacking any sort of heart or depth. It never resonates with the audience. You don't care what's happening on screen. Not only that, but the anime even fails to show or even highlight some of the torment that these girls had to endure over the years. Just 1 or maybe 2 visual aids so that we can get an understanding of the torture that they had to go through. But no, they just talk about it, but the problem is their words have no weight to them. The anime also fails as a harem rom-com, as I felt zero chemistry on a romantic level building between Ryota and his potential love interest. In fact, all of his love interests are completely bland and forgettable. None of them truly stood out. And all the rom-com moments throughout the anime were so played out, completely devoid of romance and comedy. Those were the 2 things you're supposed to get right with a harem rom-com, and you couldn't even do that. And while on the subject of characters, they don't fare any better either, as besides Nanami in the anime, I could give a shit about any of these weak characters. Their developments are poorly done, as well as their relationships. Ryota is such a painfully uninteresting lead, who's so one-note as a character that it becomes quite irritating. Yeah, he's a nice guy and all that deeply cares for people that he just met to an insane degree, but that is not enough to make an interesting or compelling character. He needs to have more depth and more dimension. This character lacks depth. This character has no dimensions, and he comes off as flat and paper thin. The same can be said for each of his love interests, as not a single one of them stood out in the entire anime. And no, Nanami does not count, as she was never a part of his harem, and she never professed her love for Ryota. She never once said that she had any sort of romantic feelings towards him. She doesn't count whatsoever. The only girl of the harem that kind of came close to being an interesting and likable character was Kazumi, but her perverted shtick wore thin really fast. The action scenes here aren't even worth mentioning. Not a single one of them stood out, none of them were exhilarating, none of them were thrilling, none of them had any weight, and none were even entertaining. They weren't fun to watch, unlike its predecessor, Elfen Lied, which had some pretty kick-ass action scene that had a lot of emotion, a lot of depth, and a lot of weight to them. Here, it's completely lacking on all facets. But I think the one thing that absolutely killed this anime for me were its last 3 episodes, as those episodes were downright insulting. First, they throw even more pointless and underdeveloped characters at us, like this new witch character with the ability to heal herself and other people, whose main purpose is just to be a deus ex machina with tits that falls in love with Ryota after he recklessly and stupidly risked his life to save her after she told him that she has the ability to heal. Yet he goes out of his way to try to save her, like, no, you gotta survive and I'll go die. I'm like, she just told you that she has the ability to heal herself, and you know that she's a witch, so maybe you should believe what she says? Maybe? Then they throw in these 2 antagonists who honestly are so forgettable that I don't even remember their names. And they're pretty much insignificant in the entire story. I mean, they have a main goal, but the main goal gets finished in like a split second. It's not even worth mentioning. And then they introduce a new secret organization who's tasked with destroying the main evil super organization from using witches, and are also just there to be a deus ex machina and contribute nothing else. Second, they drop so many reveals that come right out of left field. It honestly felt like the writers just thought of these reveals on the spot and said, oh, this would be pretty clever, let's just throw it into the script. And it's not just 1 or 2 really small reveals, they are 4 major reveals. Most of them are revealed in the very last episode and don't have any further explanations to them. Third, the climax is one of the laziest and most unengaging climaxes I've ever witnessed in an anime. It's downright forgettable, and it's over before it even starts. And lastly, the anime ends on a very disappointing note with no resolution to the story or characters, and so many questions left unanswered that I honestly lost count. Here's a couple. Now, I'm sure that the manga answers some of the questions that I presented here, but as I mentioned before, and I'll mention again, this is the anime review, and I should not have to do homework to get answers to these pretty simple questions. Overall, guys, what more could I possibly say about Brynhildr in the Darkness that I haven't already mentioned in great detail? It's a terribly made anime, and is without question the worst anime I've seen in 2017 so far. And it's not even a month into the year. I've already seen a shit anime that is an unnecessary waste of time. If you really want to see an anime like this, watch Elfen Lied. It's much, 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 much better. But as always, guys, I'm not the end-all be-all opinion when it comes to Brynhildr in the Darkness. I'm sure there are a pocket of you out there that actually enjoy this anime and think that it's absolutely fantastic. So I would like to know what you guys thought about this anime. Did you absolutely adore it? Did you find it really interesting and compelling? Or did you find it really boring, dull, and you didn't really care for it? And let me know, who is your favorite manga author? You know, I've never really asked that before, so I'm very curious to know. Comment below, let me know. Oh god, just so many videos to do. I just want to be done with this video. So, as always guys, if you'd like to support the Black Critic Guy just a smidge more, why not donate to my Patreon account? Link is in the description. If you'd like to send me a fan letter, send it to this P.O. box right up here. And if you'd like to be a part of the Black Critic crew, not miss out on a single awesome video, please hit that subscribe button below. Like the video if you really enjoyed it. And I'm 21 Second, the Black Critic Guy. Till then, peace YouTube!